first up, welcome to the Granite Zero podcast.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you for having me. Finally,
yeah. It's been a long while in the discussions.
Yeah, long time listener, first time caller, and all that.
I love all that. But yeah, genuinely awesome to have you on. I'm an avid participator in your questions, or is it Friday questions?
Friday quizzes, yeah.
Friday prayers.
Friday prayers, yeah.
Love all that, mate.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Some of them I'm like, I should know the answer to this, but I'm going to get this fucking horribly wrong. But it's all good, man. It's all good. How you been?
That's it. Yeah, good, mate. Good. Day job's going well. Been a busy summer for us lot in the fire service, so I bet it has. Keeping us busy, but it's it's better than sitting around playing pool, so I'm happy with that. And then GTC wise, it just keeps going from strength to strength. Every single drop, I'm humbled. We keep stretching ourselves more and more and more, sort of investment wise, challenges. In every way, and even just the amount of stock that we buy in just is bigger every single time that we buy in new stock, and it just doesn't matter. We still, within weeks of a drop of a new product, we're like, shit, we should have ordered more.
Yeah, definitely. Well, quite a few times I've been into, because I'm wearing one right now. I'm partial to the flannel. You know what I'm saying? So every time I've gone in, it's like sold out. I'm like, for fuck's sake, there can't be that many people my size. I'm not having it.
Yeah, mate. And that's the thing. Like, we've got a lot of, we get the full range of sizes every time, small to double XL. And like, obviously the more niche sizes there's less of, but we get a decent amount. And like, it just flies, man. And every single time we're like, we should have bought more, but we can't afford to. We max out everything that GTC earns goes back into GTC. I don't take a wage. Even our content creators, we don't pay cash to any of them. It's only in product. Like, the only things that we pay out for is all just to make the business happen and to keep us growing and keep us developing these products that, they're just little things that set us apart from other UK veteran-owned brands, really.
Yeah, it's also a pretty fucking alley brand as well. Let's be fair.
Like, cheers, man. Appreciate that.
When I first came across it, I was like, it's fucking cool as fuck. And obviously, you now got the Lakota boys on board doing their fucking alley photos up in the mountains, and it's like, that just looks even better. Especially with the photographers that they have and things like that. It's just like, that's fucking shit hot. Like,
they're waz, mate. They are waz, and they keep getting better as well. Every project that we work on together, they seem to step their game up again and again. The quality just gets better and better. The content in terms of specific to request and things like that just gets better and better every time. They're cracking, mate. Yeah.
And you're proper smashing it, especially with the way things are these days, everything online. Like, having a decent online social media presence alongside a product that goes along with it, fucking spot on. Like, the amount of times that I've seen something online, I'm like, that's pretty cool. Usually a veteran product tends to have a skull or a machine gun or something on it. So it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you get it, and then within like weeks, the t-shirt's starting to fall apart, and you're like, this is fucking dog shit. You've just got shit product with a cool fucking logo on it.
Yeah, mate, 100%. And like, it is a shame when you say that. Like, we've been victims of that as well, where the print quality's failed, or you get it and it's the equivalent of a Fruit of a Loom t-shirt. The first time it's waz, you're like, fits great, feels great, brilliant. One wash in, you're like, I might as well throw this away. Or it lasts a few weeks, few months, but then the design flakes off. And we're not immune to things like that. We're still a victim of the same methods of printing that everyone else is. Screen printing will eventually crack. It does happen. Like, there's no way of avoiding that. And vinyl printing will eventually flake off. It's going to happen. But it's about pricing your product and making sure it's got the durability based on the price. And all of ours does, and it surpasses that. And it comes down to, the flannel shirts took years of development.
Great idea.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. You know, it took years of development, took loads of iterations to get them right, loads of sample after sample, but we weren't going to do it half-assed. You know, we wanted to do it properly. And again, it's the same with everything. If you don't treat the garment the way it's meant to be treated, it will get fucked up. You know, if you wash them on the highest setting and you put it in a humble dry at the hottest thing, they will probably shrink slightly.
Yeah, to be fair, this has shrunk a little bit, but I think that's my missus' fault. She hasn't washed it properly.
Yeah, and that's it.
Either
it
that, or I've eaten far too many burgers lately, and I've
has lockdown gone really well.
Put on a bit more size than I already have.
It's one of those, mate. Like every garment, because of the materials they're made of, they're going to eventually shrink and change and things like that. Nothing's going to last forever, but it's about getting as close to the durability required for the price point. That's where we're at. You know, we're developing high quality products at prices that I'm personally willing to pay. That's it. Full stop. You know,
and it is good. It is good stuff. Like, I'm still waiting for the green light for my missus, because I'm on a spending ban because I buy shit. And she's like, "What is this now?" And it's like, "Well, I wanted it because I'm a bit like yourself, probably. I'm a sucker for a trucker hat. I love a trucker hat. The flannel shirts, anything like that. I'm like that. I want that. I want that." And to be fair, I think Red Coat is the other one. The Red Coat apparel. I love
Red Coat apparel. Yeah, they're sick. Mate. They are sick.
His stuff is class. And yeah, even down to just the different designs. Like, it could be as simple as just your logo, but you still are aware that this is also a veteran company. And I'm like most military guys, I'm a sucker for helping out fellow veterans, like cap badges aside. You know what I mean? It's a different story when you've left. Like, you still have that into service banter, but it's like, well, I'm a veteran, he's a veteran, we've done this, etc., etc. And
yeah, definitely, mate. The pull sort of makes it closer. I think it's for us, like, for GTC, it was built to be slightly different, you know, and we didn't want to exclude anyone. A lot of people that I work with and talk to from the civilian space, you know, not even in the fire service, just general civilians, they have that want that they want to help a veteran-owned business, but then they've got that identity crisis of like,
can I wear it?
Can I wear it? I don't want to look like a wolt. I don't want to.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, and I get that. I understand that, and it's like, you know, but it comes down to where do you draw the line? You know, if you're wearing a rugby shirt because you go to watch a rugby team, are you pretending to be a player or are you supporting the team?
I think some people pretend, mate.
Yeah, column A, column B, innit? But it's the same with the forces and things like that. But the way that I wanted to market it was not just to isolate them. You know, it's made like GTC, every aspect of it, every product we develop, every logo has a reason behind it, and it's got a marketing lean. You know, every reason is to try and achieve this goal. You know, this one that I'm wearing here that isn't released yet is the Rock design, and it's the silhouette. And this is about, and then the way it's all printed is, it's all for outdoor pursuit. You know, it was meant to look like a outfitting type company's logo.
Yeah.
So there'll be more and more coming out as the years go on. And this is to really lean into our mountaineering, outdoor passion, bushcraft type. You know, the normal one, the GTC baseline sort of thing is the old one. There's loads of every element in that logo. The circle one means something. And then the ones you can just see in the back here, like the Shaka, you know, obviously it's directed towards jiu-jitsu, to surfing, to skateboarding. You know, it's all my passions. It's all the passions that when you're serving in the forces, people do. That's who we are.
Yeah. So did you have any sort of intercompany rivalry? Because I've heard that quite a few veteran companies can be dickheads. Like, I've spoke to Alex before about it, and he said that he's had a few dealings with certain companies we won't mention on here. I'll tell you after. That were all fine with him at the start, and then all of a sudden just took a giant shit on him. Like,
yes and no. Like, I've been lucky. So GTC and I've been lucky. We work with loads of other veteran-owned companies, and we don't work with anyone that we wouldn't back and we wouldn't support. I strongly believe that there's enough space in this world for everyone. In this market base, there's enough space. You know, everyone's got space and everyone's got a voice, and we should all work together. I luckily haven't been victim of it, but I know of other brands that have, and it's the usual thing that you would find with any business. You know, people taking advantage, trying to, you give them an inch, they take a mile, not delivering on promises, things like that. I think most of it seems to be sort of pushed by greed or jealousy. You know, they see a brand like Red Coat of Power doing really well, maybe even doing better than them, and they don't want to believe it's down to individual output. They want to believe it's down to the lack of algorithm, or they've done this instead of doing this, you know. Sometimes, you know, I speak to our digital marketing consultant, like the person that we pay to help do all our ads and stuff. And I say to them sometimes, I was like, you know, early on, I don't really do it anymore, but I was like, oh, this account, it just seems a bit fishy to me. You know, they've got 30+K followers, but they don't have any likes, any comments, any engagement with their. Do you reckon they're bots? And a lot of the time should be like, maybe not. This probably is, that probably isn't, you know, and looks into it. And I've got to a point now where I've stopped caring. You know, I don't look at that anymore.
I started doing a similar thing, like, because I found it with the podcast, trying to get the content out there so people see it. Like, you have to get the right hashtags in, tag the right people that will then share it, etc., etc. And I looked at a few of my reels that I've put out of clips of the show, and it's like got over 2,000 sort of views on it. I'm like, but I've got like 2 likes. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, is it something that I'm doing? Is it the content shit? And I was like, content can't be shit because I'm in it. But do you know what I mean?
Mate. I think and
I'm refusing to go, right, I'm going to pay money for the advertising. I know a few other bigger veteran podcasters have done the advertising thing so that they're constantly on people's feeds and whatnot. I'm like, I'm refusing to put money into that sort of thing because I'm quite happy at where it is. Like, I'm not huge. I'm not small anymore. I'm a little bit bigger, but I'm quite happy just trucking along, putting in the graph, getting the guests on like yourself.
Well, that's it, mate. I think you at the size you are, you're getting like JT come in, you're getting some like awesome like Cage Warrior fighters in, some UFC fighters. You've got no need really, like until you want to step up to the next level, and it depends, you might get there without it. Like, it's one of those, mate. But back to your sort of original question, I think it's the same as any marketplace. There's going to be people that, driven by greed, driven by jealousy, will take advantage. Overall, I've been lucky where the community has been, to me personally, supportive, but I take everything with a pinch of salt anyway and don't overly trust anything. But you have to put yourself out there. You have to risk things. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt, otherwise it'll never grow. You know, you've got to send things to people and hope they do this and hope they do that. And sometimes they do, and sometimes bite you in the ass. Yeah,
I've always sort of admired John Beamson for that from Robust Tours, because he's obviously always had a bit of a rivalry with other sort of veteran trekking companies and things like that, and hiking companies. And he's like, I'm not about being the big fish in the small veteran pond. I want to be up there with the big lot. And I will take all the lessons that I can get from them because they're the guys that I'm after. It's like, you shouldn't worry yourself about the people that are in here. So, for example, like yourselves in the apparel sort of business. Yes, you could be up there at the top of the veteran sort of own brands, but you want to be alongside like the North Faces and the True Darks and things like that. And it's like, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly, mate. You know, it's the age-old proverb. I think it's an old Chinese proverb of, you know, Coke doesn't worry about Pepsi. And it's very true. Coke doesn't sit around sitting there going, oh, I wonder how Pepsi's doing this year. But I guarantee Pepsi sits around going, I wonder how Coke's doing. Let's try and beat them.
A massive thing on that, actually. I watched recently The Rise and Fall of And One. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. I saw it advertised. I haven't seen it yet.
Brilliant watch, because they went after the market of street basketball, which is massive in America. And growing up, I used to love And One because I loved that side of basketball. I used to take the street basketball onto the actual court when I played, which used to get me in a lot of shit. I used to get targeted. I used to get elbowed in the face and all sorts. I used to love it, but And One was like the main thing, and they were like, "We've got this. Nike don't have this. Nike are now struggling because we've got this market." And Nike went, "Oh, fucking really?" They brought out that advert, if you remember, where it's like to a sort of a beat of music and the squeaks of the trainers.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now we've got it. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Basically, it was like that. And then they just went on a fucking downhill. As soon as Nike just went, oh, fucking really?
Yeah, we want that market. We're having it back, sort of thing. It's one of those, mate. Like, I think every market and every community is going to be a victim of it. And some people are victims of their own success. I listened to a podcast of 3 of the better known brands. You'll probably allude to who I'm talking about once you sort of hear this, but I'm not going to badmouth them because they are brilliant. They're doing wonderful things. And arguably, these 3 companies started the veteran-owned business movement within the UK. So without them, possibly I wouldn't be able to be where I am. So I'm not going to badmouth them as a whole. And I think they do some amazing stuff and continue to do amazing stuff. But this one specific podcast that I listened to, they were essentially mocking and putting down, again, not alluding to names, but they were mugging off smaller up-and-coming veteran-owned brands. And that's not saying some of them didn't deserve it. Possibly some of them did. I don't know who they were talking about. But the thing that sort of did get to me a little bit was like, they were just saying, oh, they're copying this, they're copying that, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're shit because of this. And I do get it because it's frustrating. I've seen it already with GTC, people starting to do things that we were doing a few months ago, or starting to try to tap into markets that we're already in and things like that. So it is frustrating, but it just annoyed me seeing the big players of the game, hearing them essentially say, you know, there's no more space in this market for any veteran-owned businesses. So I think that's always going to be an issue. And that was one select soundbite of one sort of situation. So whether they actually feel that way or they were talking about specific individuals is obviously only they will know, which is why I'm not going to come out badmouth them for doing it. But if anyone's listened to that episode, and if you listen to veteran-owned podcasts and follow the brands, you probably have done. And that just sort of riled me up a little bit. You know, GTC was in its mega infancy at the time. And I was just sort of like, who are you? Like, you know, and it actually reminded me of, like, you know, when an RSM on camp, so a regimental sergeant major on camp, leaves camp, puts his cane down and goes into Tesco at the end of the evening. He's just Steve in Tesco, you know, and it reminded me of that attitude in the forces of giving it the I big I am, fuck everyone else. When in reality, as soon as you leave camp, you're the same as any other bloke. Like, who are you?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's a good little a good little comparison, actually. Like, it's fucking weird, and it's like, do you not know who I am? No, I don't.
Nah. Why should I?
Yeah, it is frustrating at times. I've had it with the podcast where I've seen guests that I've invited onto the show that haven't got back to me for whatever reason, but then you see them on another veteran sort of podcast and you're like, hang on a minute, Have I fucking done something wrong here? But it is what it is. I've tried to branch out as much as I could, where I found myself at one point going too heavily military related. And I was like, I'm treading on an area where I don't want to remain, because that was the main issue of my depression and anxiety, was the fact that I couldn't let go. Like, I don't mind now having the likes of yourself, former commando, on the show. And it's like, you know, that's fine now, but before it was like paratrooper, Marine, fucking rifleman, whatever, in a row. And it's like, no, because then I'm literally just going over and over again of the same topics. And it's like, I want to be different, which is, I think, the first different guest is my brother. He doesn't really count. Because he's small and brown, he doesn't count. Nah, my brother's a fascinating person to talk to be fair. But yeah, the first big standout one you could say was Jack Shaw from fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
I literally just sent him a message. I went, "Do you fancy coming on?" And like instant reply almost. It was like, "Yeah, sure, when?" And I found that they're probably the most humble people to talk to. That alongside JT, having JT on, I know he's a military guy, but he's a huge businessman now with Black Rifle Coffee, the whiskey company that he's got. I've forgotten the name of it. It's gone out of my head.
Lead Slingers.
Yeah, that's the one, Lead Slinger. And the Article 15. And plus all his other stuff. He's producing movies. He's writing constantly. But sitting down and having a conversation with him and how humble they all still are. I was supposed to have Evan on a couple of years back. He agreed to, but then obviously things changed, COVID, etc. And that hasn't been reorganized. But it's like the fact that they still took the time to reply. That's the big thing that I always find, is that a lot of people don't reply. And I'm like, even I get like sometimes with bigger popular stars with thousands upon thousands of followers, it might just go into the request thing and they might not see it. But when you've had one where it says seen at the bottom, that's the most heartbreaking thing, you know?
Yeah, mate. I think it's one of those, like, if you start thinking you're too big for your boots, and as you say, like, it's the same with GTC. Like, sometimes it takes us a while to get back to things, you know. If we're working, if we're out the country, if we're deployed, you know, it might take time. But any DM you send, anyone sends, I will read it and I will reply to it, even if it's a one-liner of nothing to do with us, don't know what we're talking about, bye. You know, we will reply. Unless you're, you know, you are someone called DM Patches 72 from Pakistan that can offer me the quality of highest. I'm like, come on, mate. Like, I do my own research. I'm already selling patches. Why do I need a random?
I had a bloke ask me if I wanted patches. Or what do I want patches for?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. It just grips me sometimes. But I respect the hustle as well. You know, go out there,
I've had so many. Because I've noticed that one of the big, the highest tagged things for hashtags is like cats or dogs of Instagram, right? So if you put that in your tag, then you might get a few more people to look at stuff. And I always get in my DMs like, do you want to sell your pictures of your cats because we can promote it more? And I'm like, I haven't got any pictures of my cat. What are you on about? You fucking, you clearly haven't read. You haven't read.
Bot, isn't it? Yeah. It's just a bot that just fires over an auto thing for you. Yeah, mate, it's mental. I've noticed recently there's an account called like some American or like American base camp, or at least looks quite American. It might not be, probably a Russian bot or something, that literally just takes posts of mine from like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, reposts them, and then gives me credit. And I'm like, who are you? What is this? I'm like, I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, it's just free. Like, you're giving me credit, so it's like, well, okay, you know, push my stuff out. But I mean, they're smaller than me anyway. They've got a few hundred followers. I'm like, I don't understand this. I'm not backing it, but I'm not commenting on it.
Yeah, I've had a similar sort of thing where it's like, come over to us and we will promote your page. And I went, I haven't got loads of followers, don't get me wrong, but I've certainly got more than 34. So
yeah.
Fuck
It's
up.
like we are the admin for this military anonymous 4,000 billion followers page, and you give us $200 and we all for. I'm like, no, mate, I'm good.
I'm good, son. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. So what sort of guided you towards the fire service then?
Mixture of things, mate. Really. So the Marines wound up for me. A bit of a long story, but I ended up leaving. So I left. And then I was sort of at a little bit of a loss. So when I was going through the process of leaving, when you have your CO's orderly rooms and all that sort of thing, they're asking, what are you going to do? And I hadn't really thought about it. I didn't really want to leave. So I was in that sort of like, I didn't have much choice. So I just sort of started looking then, and I was like, well, I'd like a sort of middle gap between being a service and then being able to be at home, spend more time at home, things like that. I was doing consultancy at the time, traveling away, doing hostile environment work and doing counter-piracy and anti-poaching sort of consultancy and training. So I was away quite a lot anyway. I was like, I want something a bit more settled. If I can bridge that gap, that'd be great. Started looking around. Essex was where I was going back to. Them and London were both recruiting. I was like, actually, it sounds quite good on paper. Let's go for that. And that was it, really. I was like, okay, I'll keep going with that, and ended up in. So yeah, that's.
I looked for the longest time at Kent Fire Brigade.
Mm-hmm.
They never recruited until I got my now position, where I'm a security site manager now, just down the road from my house. But I was like, where were you when I fucking was that? At one point, I applied for the on-call fireman, fire person. Don't want to assume my gender. And they went, how far away do you live from the station? Because obviously you're on call. I was like, I am 8 minutes, because I looked on the Google thing. I went, I'm 8 minutes away. And I went, sorry, you need to be less than 5. I was like,
yeah,
fair enough. I went, I probably could get there in 5 if you gave me a blue light to use.
Yeah, exactly.
I went, I could definitely get there in 5. But
yeah.
But for the longest time, they weren't recruiting. I was like, this is ridiculous.
No, when I applied, they hadn't recruited in Essex for like 9 years.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
they're suffering for it now. We've got a massive skills gap and ghost redundancies, and they refuse to admit it, but it is what it is, mate. It's politics.
Yeah, it's a strange sort of thing, isn't it? And I'm sure it's the same with any sort of service. You get to that point where you've done a lengthy part of service and you're like, come on now, it's time for you to maybe hang up the helmet and let some young blood in. But it could be similar to the like we had in the Air Force Regiment, where it was dead man's shoes. Like we had flight sergeants and warrant officers that just refused to fuck off. You've been in for 36 years.
Well, it's a small branch, isn't it, really, when you think about the RAF Reg, it is a small branch, and it's similar to the brigade, and it's a great job. If you get settled, you get happy, your routine, yes, all right, firefighter pay isn't great, but it depends where you're based, because it's nationalised now. You get about 31, 32K a year. 31, 32K a year, as being down in the southeast, is pissing in the wind. It's a struggle, to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, especially with the rising crisis, with them going up even more, your energy bills, to run a car, to put your kids just to do an extra class, like a club at the evening, or child mind.
Tell me about it.
You're fucked, aren't you? But say you do that in the valleys in Wales, you're a firefighter there.
It's completely different.
A year.
Yeah, so my family, we're all from Hereford. My mum's literally just moved back to Wales.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I know. Bless her. She's originally from the valleys, but her and her new husband have decided they wanted to sell my fucking house and move back to Wales, which fair dues to them. Like, I'm not bitter at all, Mum. I know you pretend to listen, but nah, she needs to do what she needs to do. But like, for example, the house that they sold, I can't remember what the price of it was. It was not a bad sort of thing. I think it was about 310. I think they got for it in the end. It's a 3 to 4 bed house. You could have it as a 4 bed, or you could have it as a 3 semi-detached. And I was like, that's going to get you a fucking 2 bed like terrace house in Kent. Like my house is like, it got valued the other day. We had a look on Rightmove for a few down the street, and they're like £285,000, and that's a 2 bed terrace house.
Yeah,
ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, there's 2 bed flats going in and around Southend, which is near where I am. For 230, 235.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
For a 2 bed flat, you're like, doesn't even have parking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those. It's
fucking south of England. Sort your life out.
It's a joke, isn't it?
It's because we're so close to the fucking capital. That's the problem.
That's all it is, mate. That's all it is London. But
London's a shithole as well. I hate London.
It's one of those, mate. You earn okay, but it's a struggle down this part of the world. But definitely, people get comfortable. So yeah, I get why people don't leave, but it is a struggle sometimes. But it's all right. It allows me to go away still. It allows me to do this, to grow GTC with a little bit of security behind it, that I'm not like, I can take those risks. I don't have to take money out of GTC to survive.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
To pay my own wage. Everything that comes in, I haven't taken a wage. I've been going over 2 years now. And if I had any hair, it would have all fallen out. And if I had any money, I would have lost my own job. So it's like, I would have probably fired myself 3 times. So it just is what it is, mate. But yeah, it's going good.
So I'm gonna touch on something now, because I had a nurse on yesterday, and obviously another blue light family member, similar to yourself, and we were talking about how manic it can be in the ER, and you don't know what's going on with what within the nurses community, the lack of support that they have if they do have to work on someone that loses life or are called into a fucking catastrophic fucking injury thing. Someone's lost a leg, etc., etc. They literally have no time to rest. It's like, right, that's done. We now have to move on to this. Well, what's it like within like the fire service? Because obviously you guys get called to some horrific things. RTAs, fucking obviously burning fucking buildings and bushfires now, because we're now officially Australia. Well, do you guys get much support, or is it literally deal with that, mate, when you can?
Yes and no. So like anything, they've got the practices in place to deal with it. Is it always followed to the best of its ability? And is it always necessary? Because it's a blanket system for a lot of people, and not everyone's the same. Not everyone processes it the same. So is it always the right way of doing it? And, there's all those questions. The big thing to mention is they get it a lot worse than we do. 100%. A&E nurses, paramedics, paramedics may not see as much trauma, and depending on when the nurses, they may not see as much trauma, but busy wise, shift wise, they're 100% worse off than we are. I think it's a national thing, but definitely in Essex and London, we do trim now, which was obviously you'll be familiar with, and it was formulated and sort of created by former Royal Marines. And I'll probably get it wrong, but it's like trauma risk incident management or something like that.
I believe you're correct on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially it's a system in place for when someone's been a witness to a traumatic incident, to be able to have an informal introduction to a process to deal with an issue before it becomes a formal issue, if that makes sense. So it's essentially a chat with a trained person. Then if they are, and that trained person is usually a colleague of the same or similar level to yourself, shared experiences, that sort of thing. Not always, and quite often it might be just some random bloke in HR that's never walked out the building. So you're like, nah, mate, see you later. But most of the time it's someone that's seen the same stuff and been through it. And then if they get a sense that you need something else, they can refer you, and it can move up. It's a whole tiered system. So yes, we have got trim in place, and I think a lot more work needs to be done. But most of the time, mate, lads and lasses now deal with it their own way. And they deal with it quite well, which is, you know, we'll laugh, we'll joke, we'll do some rather dodgy humour, and sort of process it in our own space and our own way. But yeah, there is a system.
Well, that's good.
And I think it's better than the paramedics and the nurses.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. We've got less than a minute, so I'm going to ping you another link.
Roger, man.
Stand by for the breaks. There are no breaks.
For the advert.
Yeah. There are no adverts. So. Welcome back.
Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the adverts, ladies and gentlemen.
I say that like I put my adverts in the middle, like most podcasts, but
yeah, there are none.
Well, I don't know about you, but it fucks me off. Like, I used to like listening to Rogan when he was on Apple because all his adverts were at the start and you could just skip them.
Yeah.
Now he's on Spotify; they just pop up willy nilly, like mid conversation. You know, it hasn't even like paused for like an advert; it just pops up with. I don't know.
Usually Huel, innit? Sponsored by Huel.
That's the one, Huel.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of what it was. But yeah,
it's one of them, mate. It does grip me sometimes, but also I get like he needs to make money. You know, the operation doesn't move on its own.
And it's the same with all the other podcasts that put adverts
100%, mate.
Wherever. That's down to their sponsor. Like,
and same with YouTube videos.
Yeah, when I spoke to Green Beret and Kent CBD, I said, look, I tend to put my adverts at the beginning. Well, hey, my man.
I need to get some more, actually. That's running low.
It's running low. Mine's running low as well. He hasn't spoken to me for a few weeks, so I know you're listening. Where's my fucking oil? Now
he knows we're both running low. Maybe we can get a joint order in.
Joint order. But yeah, it's like I put my adverts at the beginning. I went, is there anything specifically you want me to say? Because otherwise I'm just going to ad-lib it and it's going to come out however I fucking want it to. They're like, no, do what you need to do. I'm like, happy days.
Yeah. Well, that's good, mate. It keeps it relaxed, doesn't it? It keeps it relaxed. You know, a lot of YouTubers have started doing that as well, especially like because they can't control what adverts are put on by YouTube. So especially if they're like gun YouTubers, they'll get demonetized anyway.
Yeah.
So they don't have adverts, or they have adverts, but they don't see the revenue for that, which is very cheeky of YouTube. But a lot of them start putting in the advert in the video.
Yeah.
And just try and make it entertaining. I respect the hustle. It frustrates me like it does with everyone else, but they're creating free content. Same with a podcast. You're creating free content.
Yeah.
You've got to somehow get compensated for that, even if all it does is pay for another mic when that one breaks, or another.
I did have a bloke jump in my DMs from America that's I believe he's been on Jocko's podcast before, but I might be wrong. But anyway, he's seen my podcast and said, I wouldn't mind coming on. I was like, oh, cool. I went, usually with people from America, I do it via Zoom. And he's like, nah, I don't like Zoom. How about you pay for me to come out? And I went, whoa. I went, I record in a shed, mate. What?
Yeah.
What are you expecting here? Miracles? I went, nah, mate. And, you know, I'm all down for if I ever blew up, then yeah, I would be able to. But
fly people in, yeah.
But at the minute, mate, I can barely put petrol in my car. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I've seen that. I've noticed a few different podcasts now. I've started doing that Patreon thing, and I'm like, I'm like, that's not a bad avenue to go down, but also, I'd rather give it free. Like, I'm not expecting people to pay to listen to me talk shit for an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, mate. Like, obviously, you started it as a passion project. Same with the GTC podcast.
Exactly.
You know, they're passion projects, but as they get bigger, they take up more time, more effort. If you want the bigger guests, you are like that guy. You know, you will have to start at least compensating them for their travel. Then you want to get better quality so that it matches the bigger audience. And like, if you're not earning money, it's a difficult balance, mate. And I think every podcast's different, and some people get it wrong, some people get it right. That's going to be the constant battle, I think.
Definitely gets there. Definitely. Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about, still staying on the subject of the fire service. Like,
Yeah.
what is the adrenaline rush like when the bell goes? Is it like Fireman Sam?
I wish I'd be more excited.
Now who needs a fire service?
Now who needs it? So it's a difficult question, mate. Obviously, adrenaline rush is very personal based. And I think it does fade. I have never, personally, is the only way I can speak about it. And I've never been overly excited by it, start to finish. You know, I don't know whether that was exposure to different things in the Marines, whether that was just the way I lead my life anyway, or whether, you know, I'm dead inside. I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe a combination of all three. But I was never overly excited and rushed by it. Some people do. Some people you can see get very sort of amped by it all. But I never really was greatly at the beginning, but I was more than I am now. It's almost like now, depending on what I'm doing, you know, if the bells go down when I'm in the shower, just lathered up, it's more of a feeling of, oh, for fuck's sake, than it is.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Is it a fuck's sake sort of thing?
Yeah, it kind of is. Like, sometimes I do say it mainly just to get a cheap laugh out the rest of the gang. Like, I don't actually mean it, because if the bells are going down, you're going to help someone, full stop. Yeah. And that's why you're doing the job. There's no other reason to be a firefighter unless you want to help people. So sometimes you might say it and feel it slightly, but a lot of the time it's just like, let's go do our job. So some people, yes. For me, not a massive deal, mate. No. You know, a good example would be, you know, we'd go when I wasn't a driver, or if I'm not driving and I'm on the back of the truck. It's a bit harder when you're driving. You know, on the way back from a job at the middle of the night, everyone else would be buzzing, talking about it. You know, when people are amped up, they talk about it, blah, 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 blah. They're excited, they're happy. Last, I'll be asleep, you know, on the way back from a job, because there's just no adrenaline pumping through my system. Yeah, if you can get your head down, get your head down.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, and I'll be asleep, you know, and there'll be blue light runs where, you know, we're heading somewhere and it's a long blue light run, and I'll fall asleep in the back of the truck. I'm like, not really that wound up. And it pays dividends when you arrive, because then you're not flapping. You get there.
I was going to say, you probably find that, especially the younger recruits, quite possibly, when that rush first hits, they're probably like an officer in the fucking command center, you know, fucking up in the ceiling. What do you mean there's a contact? Fucking hell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're flapping so hard they get altitude sickness, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose, like, being able to switch off and be like, it's my fucking job, you know, that's got a benefit quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it helps me. I'm quite good at detaching that, and I don't get overly excited by it, but I'm also not a robot. Things do affect me. I do notice things, and then you do think about things like later on and things like that. But no, in terms of adrenaline rush, there might be a slight spike if it's really exciting, but most of the time, not a great deal, mate.
Yeah, which is also quite strange, because obviously what you're doing is a fucking dangerous job. Like, it's not natural to go and play with fire unless you're a fucking weirdo. It is a dangerous job, like, and obviously there's a lot of risk that comes with it. There's could potentially a lot of loss that comes with it. My next door neighbor growing up was a fireman, and he lost his life in a huge fire in Hereford. It was the Sun Valley fire that basically took the whole warehouse out, and he went in to try and save his mate, and unfortunately they both didn't come out. And that was, I remember that was like one of the first times I ever really sort of noticed loss. So obviously, seeing my next door neighbor, we were quite close at the time. He had 3 boys. One of them was tiny, and it was like they've now not got their fucking dad. But also, like, he's also like, this word gets bandied around a lot within the military. Like, but he was a fucking hero. He went in to try and save his mate's life without any thought about the risk to himself. It's fucking...
It's one of them, mate.
It's the utmost respect that I'm trying to say that I have for you
Yeah,
guys.
appreciate that. I think, as you know, of serving in the military, it's kind of anyone that's ever done anything great is still just Steve down at Tesco.
Yeah, you know a lot of Steves down at Tesco.
There's loads of them, mate. Loads of them. We're in Essex. Everyone's Steve. Everyone's dad is Steve.
Steve or shop at Tesco. Steve or Dave.
Dave or Dave, yeah. You know, it's one of those, mate. Like, every human is capable of greatness. Do they get the opportunity? Do they get the luck? Do they get the facilities to prove it? And are they wired in a way that would exude that greatness? I think in terms of the fire service, it is a dangerous job, yes, and you still do accept risk. Same in the military. You have a dangerous job and you accept risk. However, as technology has got better, as fireproofing in buildings has got better, as procedures have got more finely tuned, if you follow the procedures, wear the right equipment, don't take unnecessarily risks, the chances of you getting injured or hurt is extremely low. And it gets lower and lower as the technology gets better, as building fire defense gets better, as long as, you know, the companies don't fuck it up like Grenfell and not care because it's cheaper. You know, the chances are less and less. And yes, there is still that risk, and you've got to accept that risk, and you've got to know that that is a risk. But it's the same with any job, mate, that has that level of risk to it. That's not what you're thinking about when you're doing the job. And you probably never think about it unless, like yourself, you bring it up. But the old school firefighters were the real heroes, you know, the old school smoke eaters that would be putting indoors straight away, climbing in there, you know, with nothing but this around your face, covering it up. They're the real heroes, mate, and they're the ones that even down to when your neighbour would have done it.
Yeah, that would have been early 90s.
Yeah, a similar sort of time, you know, they would have probably only just brought in breathing apparatus then. A load of those guys, if they're still around now, probably died of cancer just because of the smoke inhalation. The average lifespan of a firefighter is something like 15 years less than the average age of a male in the UK. And it's even like a bigger gap in the US. So it's one of those, mate. Yes, it's the risk.
Do they put that on the application as well?
It's front page, yeah, front page, right? In massive print like that. Like, you will die earlier if you do a full career.
That's like when we were out in Iraq when we had, I think it was called Macorba. It was literally at the front of the vehicles to basically send a infrared heat signature out to blow up any IEDs if they're fucking there. So before we went out in Afghan with the Valens and that, like we would do that. That's Op Barmer with the Valens, cracking on, spot on. In Iraq, it was Op Dalton, which was literally you would go out and you just walk in a line looking, and then the vehicle you'd like then go behind the vehicle would move up with the Macorba going out. But they were like, just be aware that this does send out radiation, so you might go impotent. It's like, what?
Hold on a minute.
Yeah. I was like, hold on. And you want us to stand in front of that? Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not a high chance.
Yeah. It's only a 9-hour patrol. You'll be fine.
Yeah, fucking hell.
It's one of those, mate. Like, what's the biggest risk to a firefighter? It's dying in a burning building or catching cancer when they like later retire. What's the biggest risk for a soldier when they're, you know, out on patrol, getting a shot or explode, like blown up? Well, when they go out and they get your brief to start your job, the main effort is never don't get blown up. Yeah. The main effort is achieve this goal. It's do this to achieve this. Also, while you're there, don't fucking get blown up. Yeah. It's the same with the fire service.
But they always stick that at the end. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
now you got the tax sergeant for the medical brief. It's like, hang on, I've just sat through 4 hours of orders here.
Yeah, you're already asleep by then.
Yeah.
That O group has already gone in one ear out the other, and you're napping.
Yeah, it's like so it's a golden hour. Yeah, all right, I'll remember that. I've got an hour before I'm dead. It's fine.
Yeah. How quick you were a tourniquet, that's all that matters. But mate, it comes down to one of those, you know, as things progress, things get less dangerous, but there's always that level of risk and always that danger. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your biggest takeaway of joining the fire service? What's the biggest thing that you've when I say biggest takeaway? What's the I'm trying to get my fucking words out now? I've had a fucking brain fart.
It's lucky you don't do a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Well,
it's lucky I don't make words up and forget what I'm talking about halfway through a sentence.
What, like biggest lesson learned?
Yeah, yeah. You got it. See, he fucking knows. He knows.
It's a difficult one.
Or one of. It doesn't have to. Yeah, because you could probably think of about.
There's loads. There is loads, but I think one good one would be never underestimate someone else's stupidity. That's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Things that you would think no one's ever going to do that, and they fucking do. That comes from members of the public and clients doing just mental things that you think, why the fuck? Like we had one bloke, he had a bonfire going absolutely fine in the middle of his garden, burning wood. He had another, like where he was carrying the wood from to put it on this bonfire was about another 5 meters away. So light bulb moment in his head, he went, I know what I want to do. Instead of moving all this wood over, I'm going to pour some petrol, draw a line from one fire to the wood so that it can set light to that without me having to move it. Obviously, as soon as he started pouring, flames shut up into the thing because it's the fumes that are lit. He goes, panics, throws the petrol can. That flaming petrol goes all over his fence, all over the neighbour's shed, all over the side of his house. Bang, everything's going. And he runs away. And it's like, we get there, we sort it, not a big issue. We managed to get there quick enough and calm it all down. And there was no major loss to life, just property. But it's like, what happened, mate? And he explains it and you go, what the fuck were you thinking? Yeah. Like, what? So never underestimate someone's stupidity. But also, like, no one's a hero and everyone's a hero. I think that's my biggest one, is no one's a hero and everyone's a hero. Like, there's so many people that walk around giving it the Barry McGuigan. You know, I'm a fireman. Look at my fireman T-shirt or firefighter T-shirt as I'm walking into Tesco. You know, look how important I am. Show me respect.
He's just Steve.
Oh, he's just Steve, mate. He's just Steve. You know, there's so many people out there that get into the fire service to tell people they're firefighters. You know, yes, they might be there to help people, but they love bigging it up and, you know, coming on podcasts saying how amazing they are, how many rescues they've done and how dangerous the job is. But they're not. They're just normal people that are just giving it the big licks. And then on the same side, a lot of the time you see random people dragging other people out buildings, you know, before you even get there. Or it's the weirdest person on your watch does the thing on a job that really makes a big difference and helps a lot of people and puts themselves at risk. So everyone's a hero, no one's a hero. And never underestimate someone's stupidity.
Yeah. It's some fucking good ones to take away, to be fair. Yeah. So you spoke briefly about the anti-poaching and the security consultancy stuff. Was that directly after leaving the Marines? Was it one of those little light bulb things? I'm a Marine. What can I bring to the world? Well, I'm basically infantry, so I'm going to go into security work /CP/maritime, similar to what 99% do.
Yeah, essentially, mate. Yeah, I mean,
pretty similar to me. I didn't know what I was doing, so I went, right, I'll do a CP course. Have I used it? Have I you've actually gone and used it, but mine actually looks really good on my CV though.
And that's all that matters. Let's be honest. I didn't even bother doing a course, mate. I just cuffed it all the way through.
My first job interview, I went in and they went, you do know this is a security officer role at Waitrose Distribution Centre? And I went, yeah. And they went, you've got a close protection license. You're overqualified. I went, yeah, but I need a job, mate.
Yeah. I know what I've applied for.
Yeah, I went, I'm not waiting on a list to go and do CP that might never happen. I went, I kind of need a job now.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of a bit of everything, mate. Like I had a connection and a bit of a network with a guy doing hostile environment training. I bunged in a lot of leave, had a lot of leave saved up. My last couple of years in the forces I was doing a lot of training roles, a lot of STTTs, like short-term training teams and stuff. And I realized that, weirdly enough, for some reason, people believe the British accent, even if you don't know what you're talking about. So I was doing a lot of instructing, went away, did the hostile environment stuff. I'm a big animal lover and feel quite strongly about poaching and anti-poaching and things like that. So I reached out to a couple of guys that I knew were doing it, looked at a couple of charities, and I just eventually got a few different projects doing different things with different organizations, using the boot network, using the veteran network. And it just sort of spiraled from there, really picked up more jobs. And I've got no official qualifications. I've got my med qualifications to a decent level, but I've got no teaching quals. I've got no CP course, nothing like that.
Yeah, I think
I just bounce from course to course.
Yeah, with the CP course, I think that literally is for the UK, because it's obviously SIA license. To perform security, you have to have that license. But if you're doing it abroad, then
mate,
it is a fucking Iraqi over the fucking Middle East going to go, can I see your license, please?
It all comes down to insurance, most of it. All comes down to insurance. But mate, at the end of the day, it just sort of is what you're doing. And I've been quite lucky. The bootnet network is ridiculous. There's people doing everything everywhere. And then the wider veteran network is even bigger. So you almost get a leg up straight away if people know you're a bootneck, because they just assume straight away that you're a good bloke. Don't get me wrong. There's loads of shit cunts out there. Sorry. I don't know how bad you can swear on this, but
you can swear as much as you want. I was going to say, I bet there's a fair few shit cunts as well.
Of course there is. Just in every regiment, every group of people, there's some people you don't want to work with. But people assume straight away, if you're a bootneck, you're switched on, you're a decent person. Most of the time they get it right. So you already get the grace, you already get that rope to hang yourself. And then most bootnecks manage to tie it in a lovely knot and make a bow out of it and have decent careers. So it's mainly just stuff that I stumbled into, and one project led to another. You're working on one and they're like, oh, we're doing this for this provider in X amount of months, are you free? Yeah, I am actually. And you roll from one to the other. COVID obviously took a big hit, started doing some stuff domestically, but it's fun, mate. It allows you to get away, see some stuff, and people pay for your flights. So
I was going to say, so is the anti-poaching predominantly in the different African territories? Is it
in Africa? Yeah, mainly South Africa, or sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah.
Oh, fucking nice little holiday for you.
Exactly. Was it
a busy time of year? Did you get to see many lions?
Very busy. Saw all the big five in the first day or so. So yeah, mate, it's one of those.
Is the big five as big as the big three though? Because
don't know, mate. Don't know. Depends how big the 5 Mile of Death actually is.
Well, exactly.
Toe to toe at the bar. What a great video that was.
Oh,
it really helped your guys' reputation.
Did. But the annoying thing is Scouse Taylor, his name is. He actually took my he was the flight sergeant on what is known as Field Gunners, which was what that course was. That's the main infantry phase that we have before we join the squadron properly. And he is actually a switched on fucking sound bloke. He was SFSG. He worked alongside 3 Power for quite a long time. He's actually quite an alley bloke. However, don't say that in a video.
I think that's it, mate. Like, he was quite clearly trying to motivate the lads to get ready to go and complete an arduous task. What would be considered an arduous task for any infantry regiment, bar the Paras and the Marines anyway. That they call it Tuesday. But yeah, like he quite clearly was trying to rile the lads up, and I get it. It makes sense why they were doing it, but
it was quite funny. Very
it was
cringy.
recorded and shared
a lot, and now it's just the folklore now. It's like that's what we do, and it's so funny because I've tried to tell people so many. Like my final exercise was not for fucking 5 miles. That's for fucking sure. I can't even. it wasn't. Don't get me wrong. It's not like your fucking end one where you get your fucking green lid. Don't get me wrong. It's not that long. However, it was fucking ages. It was 24 hours worth of graft with a fucking massive firefight at the end. And like he said, it is all the scales, all the bomb. We had the kit was so heavy, it was unreal. And it was literally, you get done and you're like, oh fuck now. And it's like, right now you have to tab back to the White Angel to take you home. It's like, oh fuck's sake. But it's like me and my pal Chris, who's been on the show quite often, he went, we never did the 5 mile of death. It's so much longer, and that day is so fucking long. And it's like, but people only hear that bit and go, well, it's 5 mile of death, isn't it? It's like, oh fucking hell.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good dip, mate.
I know, and don't get me wrong, we've had that one, then we had obviously the Battle of Bastion, which
that's a favourite of mine. I like that one.
Do you know what the funny thing about that is? Because obviously, yes, airfield defence is our task. That is our task. The tower that they went through to cause the Battle of Bastion was a fucking Tongan tower. They closed the shutters and just fucking stopped because it was literally that the regiment team that did the Battle of Bastion. Fucking hate that. It wasn't a battle. It was 51 Squadron. We took over from them. So it was like, we know exactly what happened with which towers it was. And it was because of our quick reaction force that they didn't get anywhere further. So they actually did a fucking good job. The bit that pisses me off is, well, they shot their own body armor, don't you?
Allegedly.
Yeah, what are you talking about? I hate that. But yeah, like you said, we guard the naffy and we shoot our own body armor after doing a 5 mile a death. So
everyone's got a role, mate. Everyone's got a role. Some people get to fulfill it, some people don't, and some people like to big it up.
I know. And as you said, there's fucking shit cunts everywhere. Definitely.
Yeah, there just seems to be more of a rough edge.
There are loads. Genuinely, there are loads, and most of the ones don't like me because I'd fucking tell them how it is. But that's another story. Fucking technology. So what I was saying was, after giving you the heads up for the fan questions, I've actually got some.
Oh, awesome!
From a Jack Preston. We've actually got quite a few from him, which is all right. Oh. So the first one for you, mate. We sort of covered this in the last installment, really. What do you think of Paras / other units?
Yeah, like we covered, mate. I think I've got many mates that are Paras. I've worked with stuff in the job, some in the job, and then like afterwards as well on different projects. I think most of them are good blokes. Like with anything, there's good blokes and shit blokes in every group. Most of them are good blokes, and the job they are trained to do, they do to a high level. And that's the sort of the gen truth. Yeah. Obviously, banter aside, you just within the forces, you choose your group to have banter with, and it's like if there's 2 troops of bootnecks, it'll be 1 troop versus another troop of bootnecks. If there's bootnecks versus Paras, it'll be bootnecks and Paras. If there's bootnecks, Paras, and another regiment, it'll be bootnecks and Paras together against the other regiment. If it's, you're on the outside, it's veterans versus non-veterans. You just pick a group, you pick a tribe, and you enjoy the banter that comes along with it. But overall, every regiment, every group, every service, they've got a job to do. And within the British military, especially, 9 times out of 10, they do it to a high level. better than most other countries anyway.
Spot on. And if it's Army, Air Force, and Navy, they're all going to have a go at the RAF Reg. That's a fact. Everybody.
Yes, they are the whipping boy.
No one likes us. Anyway, so second question. What was your worst thrashing?
Worst thrashing was definitely in training by the quietest sniper on the training team. He barely said a lot. Other corporals called him Corporal Cuddles because he didn't say a lot, didn't shout a lot. We fucked up one day, and by fuck up, I can't remember what the fuck up was. Probably one of those things we didn't actually fuck up.
Yeah.
But the whole troop was thrashed. It was a winter month, frost on the ground.
Yummy.
He didn't raise his voice once, but it was just a lot of crawling around, collecting stones from one place to put them into another place, just to put them back in the place that you picked them up from. All our hands and elbows were just like bloodied and red from just like the sharp ice cutting into them for like what felt like 3 hours. In hindsight was probably 20 minutes. So yeah, that was the worst thrashing. Just slow, monotonous crawling
Character
for a
building.
long period of time. Yeah, sorry. And I learned my lesson, definitely, even though I can't remember what we did wrong.
Yeah.
But remember the thrashing.
There's quite a few that we had. The main one was actually just basically the whole morning. So before we officially pass out into the Royal Air Force, before we crack on with the infantry phase, we have to go through bayonet, obviously, which is what separates the infantry from your regular Army, Air Force, Navy. So we went and did bayonet, and it was basically hours of just being thrashed. Like throughout the whole week, they gave you timings that you couldn't meet so that they would thrash you. You would have they would give you early fucking reveille, so you didn't get much sleep. Then it would be, you'd have something like your bootlace was untied or something, and that would be a thrashing for that. And then that would all build up to the final day. And it was literally, they would start with the room inspection, which you knew you were going to fail. It could have been the most gleaming fucking room inspection ever, but no.
It's all playing their game, innit?
Yeah, and then you'd be beasted around the block, constantly sprinting around, and then you'd get to the armory. You wouldn't be able to sign your weapons out quick enough. You wouldn't sign out the bayonets quick enough. You'd get your bayonet, and they would say, "Why is it rusty?" It's not mine. I just signed it out.
I've just been given it.
Do you know what I mean? You want to say, well, it's not mine. You've just gave it to me. If it was mine, it would be clean. Stuff like that. And it was literally, I remember one of mine was, he got me to get my mess tins out and then pulled my knife and fork out, and he was like, well, it's dirty. And I was looking at it, I was like, it's fucking not dirty. I know it's not dirty. I fucking had the Brillo fucking on it the other day. It was fucking gleaming. But then there was a mound that it felt like about 4 miles away, but it probably was about 400 meters. And it was known as pork pie. And it was like, pork pie,
nice.
Go. And you would have to sprint out to pork pie. And I ended up taking this part of the drill. And when I started doing boot camps myself, helping out a buddy of mine before I got fat, I would use what I would known as grenade drill as part of my thing. So you shout grenade, you'd have to hit the deck and start crawling. So you'd be sprinting to this fucking pork pie, and then all of a sudden it'd be grenade, and you're fucking on the deck. And
Ours was always take cover. Yeah. You're sprinting off, so take cover. You have to go down hard.
Fucking hell. Yeah. But yeah, still to this day, I remember fucking bayonet training. I remember going up to get my certificate for passing out into the Air Force from the station commander, and I remember standing up and getting cramp and having to like march over to him with cramp. It was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done.
TikToking over.
Yeah. Third question for you. Best galley scran. That must be a bootneck thing, is it? Because I've never heard of galley. Yeah.
So galley is a kitchen. Scran is just food.
I got the scran bit. We obviously have to go to the 5-star hotel.
The hotel. Yeah. Best galley scran in the UK, not non-existent. It's all turbo dog shit.
True story.
Out in the US, as long as you don't mind sugar, most of it is actually pretty good. It's not amazing. Galley scram full stop is not amazing. At Christmas, they make a half decent
They
roast dinner.
They do put an effort in, to be fair, Christmas.
You barely eat much of it, and then you end up throwing the rest around the galley.
Yeah,
so
I never understood that. Like, where it's all going to end in a food fight. Why?
Yeah,
I'm hungry.
Yeah, and it's the only half decent meal they ever make. But then again, when you're in training, everything tastes good because you just can't get enough calories in anyway.
Yeah,
I
know what you mean.
There's no good galley scran, but when you're in training, everything tastes good.
And even on deployment, like we found going to the American DFACs were far better than the British ones. However, the Americans prefer to eat in ours, I found.
Oh, weird.
Especially the US Marines, but that might be because they used to eat in crayons.
Crayons, yeah.
Yeah.
Saying that, we did when we were in Oman, we had a chef, like an actual Royal Marine chef, which are like rocking horse shit, and I don't even think the branch exists anymore. And although he was turbo Frodas all of the time, he took pride in his work, and he did actually serve up some decent stuff. So that wasn't too bad. But yeah. No.
Yeah. All right, we've got 2 course specific ones now. We'll start with the one at the bottom, which must have been the first one he asked. Do you know anything about the sniper course within the Corps?
I know a little bit. I never done it. I've got many mates that are snipers, have been snipers.
Same with me. Like, I've got quite a few buddies that were snipers within ours, and it's got to be probably similar to you guys. It's one of the hardest courses you can take.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it's one of the most well respected as well.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that if you're going on the snipes course, you're probably a decent bloke. Specifics, I don't know much, and I know it's changed quite a lot. I do know that they do get a lot of third-party forces coming in to do the Royal Marine sniper course because it is considered one of the best long-range sniping courses in the world.
Yeah.
So I know there's a big crossover with foreign forces and outside regiments, and it's got a great reputation. It is considered one of the best and hardest sniper courses in the world. There's paras out there that are Royal Marine Sniper qualified. There's guardsmen that are Royal Marine Sniper qualified. There's US forces. There's foreign foot loads. So, yeah, I don't know any specifics, but it's got a great reputation. Yeah, it's always hard to get on. And yeah, it seems like a good course. The lads seem to come off with some good skills.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't think I've ever met a lad that's been part of the sniper section that has been a dickhead. A couple of two. I've had 2 of my squadron snipers have been on the podcast. They're both fucking sound lads, and then one in particular that I refer back to quite a lot on the show is Sai, who unfortunately ended up taking his own life. He was one of the best blokes within the whole of our squadron, and he was one of the top snipers as well. And I believe 15 Squadron at the time I was serving had some of the best snipers within the actual military itself in terms of going off doing because they have that fucking, can't remember the full name of it, but obviously the range competition, and they won it quite a few times. So yeah, snipers are cool. Everyone loves a sniper. Just got to remember how fucking hard it is. If you can't sit still, then you might not. I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah, it does seem like most people concentrate on the shooting and the reaching out, touching people, throwing them as deck chairs. But 90% of the job is, shitting in a cling film bag and watching people.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I actually ended up not shitting in the cellophane bag, but watching people was actually what I ended up doing for a couple of years, doing surveillance. Luckily, I was actually in a van, so I could move about a little bit.
Yeah.
But, do you know what I mean? That was one of the courses I actually applied for before I left, because they started taking the piss. was to be a long-range surveillance operator, which was cool. You get given the fucking ghillie suit and all that shit. But
Gooch.
yeah, so we got 2 left, right? One from this guy and then one from me, because I want to know anyway. But the one from Jack. What does it feel like when you get your green lid?
Oh, very good question. A lot of different feelings, a lot of different emotions. It's a long period of time. It's a long time coming. You start the process when you first walk into a careers office, and it doesn't quite end when you get handed your lid, but that's when you know you've ticked that final box. I would say the biggest overwhelming feeling is relief and pride. You're just happy that it's over, and then you're just proud to be part of this incredibly distinguished historic group of men that have done in the past and continue to do great things every single day, whether they did it serving or afterwards. So yeah, just overwhelming pride and relief that it's over finally.
And I'm sure the biggest thing to take away from it is the fact that you can then stand toe to toe with the Air Force Regiment,
the RAF Reg, that's
in the bar. So that's got to be the main takeaway from it. But anyway,
on the Falklands.
Yeah. So the final question for myself, and everybody's gonna be wanting me to ask this at the start because we touched on it before we even hit record.
Yep.
What's with the mask?
It is a question we get a lot, and you see the majority of our photos have the faces blurred out, and there's
I did laugh actually, sorry, just to put in, I laughed at the Lakota boys because they've obviously reposted one. I went, what do you think, you fucking SBS now or something? And they were like, shut up.
Exactly, and it's many facets to it. When we first started GTC, all of the imagery was obviously of me. I was the only person that we had representing the brand. And I'm not a big fan of social media. 1, I'm rats. And 2, I just don't really like social media. I don't do anything overly sneaky beaky. I'm not an SFSG or a SRR operator. I'm not special forces. I'm not former special forces. And anything I did in the Marines is already history. I've got nothing to hide. I just don't like social media. I wouldn't personally put all of that information out there if I didn't have to. I've only came to that conclusion later on in life. So there is hundreds of things online, photos, mold profiles, things like that, photos and names that aren't edited. And I'm not going to go through and take them all down. I'm not that bothered. And it's not like it's really hard to figure out who I am. My full name's on the screen here. I don't know if that'll be in the recording or not.
I have no idea. If I'm honest, I have no idea.
No. And again, it doesn't matter either way. It's not hard to figure out who I am. If you do find my personal Instagram account that's not my actual name, a lot of the photos are blurred out and similar anyway. And same with the Facebook, it's mainly that I don't want social media. And then as it's progressed, it started off being a thing that we did, marketing, and we stuck with it. And we stuck with it for a couple of good reasons. The big one being is Gibraltar Trading Company isn't about me. It's not about my face. It's not about me being the face of the brand. The brand stands for itself. It's got a developing history and a developing community around it. Every single symbol, every single logo has enough meaning and history behind it that we don't need a face. And that's another reason, is that we're not one person, we're not one face, we're a community, and we're building that community as we grow. And then the other one really is because it looks fucking sick. Nothing looks allier than a blurred out face. And that's the truth of it. It's marketing. The large region that we haven't done anything with it and we keep continuing to do it is that it's marketing. It keeps it on brand. When you look for our profile, most of the faces are blurred. Not all, because there's some people that you want to know who their face is, like Jake Best, who does sorry, not Jake Best. What's his name? Yeah, it's Jake Best that does a lot of the charity challenges. His face isn't covered because it's easy enough to find out who he is, and we want to promote his charity challenges. But pretty much I'm scrolling down it now. Everyone else is either blurred or at least half their face blurred or sunglasses, and it's blocking it out. Some are, some aren't. But yeah, it's and then like the MMA fighters that we sort of back and things like that. But yes, marketing, mate. It just looks good.
That's fair enough.
It started off with a more practical reason and it's turned into marketing. It's now on brand, it's on theme, and it just looks good, mate. It makes it seem better, and it also depersonalizes images, sorry. So people look at the image and they see the content rather than the person in the content, if that makes a weird sense.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Well, one day, hopefully, if we reach the dizzying heights, I'll probably ditch it and not have to worry too much. But that'll be when GTC stands on its own 2 feet a little bit more without me being the person. And we're probably almost there, but out of habit now, it'll always sort of continue.
That's fucking fair enough. Answers that question. Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome.
There you go.
What else you got planned for today, my man?
Today, mixture of things, mate. We've got a little bit more work to do with GTC. We've got some samples incoming later today. I've got a meeting with our distributor to make sure everything's running smoothly. And then a bit of DIY, actually. Got to sort out some bits on the garage, just smarten it up a little bit. So, yeah, little bits and bobs. And then jiu-jitsu tonight. Go get strangled in my pajamas.
That's what you want. That's what you want. Yeah, I've got a task. I've got to go to the range, but that might be after the school run. I don't know.
The fun range or the range where they sell loads of crap for your house?
The shit one.
Yeah.
got to get a desk for the eldest because she's just started secondary school, so she needs something to start fucking writing on. I was like,
yeah, she needs something to ignore her homework on.
Yeah, well, to be fair, she's been pretty good, but it's only been 2 days, so. Yeah, I'm sure that will change. I'm like, that will change. And then I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the evening. I'm sure the long-haired colonel will have something for me to do. Something.
That's it, mate. See what Zero Alpha's got planned. What's on the list?
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'll probably go, can I go to the gym? And she'll be like, oh, well. I'm like, well, I need to. This is why I'm turning into this mess, because you're not letting me go to the gym. Not that I need an excuse to like go, I ain't going today, because... I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, I don't really give a shit at the minute. I should, but it is what it is.
You need to get into jiu-jitsu, mate. You need to get into jiu-jitsu.
I've got a buddy. To be fair, I should really give him a ring. He's a purple belt, so he's pretty switched on. But fucking last time I went, he properly humbled me, like properly, like. I've got at least 30 kilos on him, and he twisted me up like a pretzel. And I was like, I can't even use my weight or my strength against you because your technique is.
No, they'll just smash it.
His technique was ridiculous. I was like, this is annoying. And yeah, I went boxing at the beginning of the summer, but then obviously the rise in fucking costs with everything. I was like, if that's one thing, if one thing's got to go, it's little things like that.
That's the issue, isn't it?
Which was all right because they were fucking doing my head in a little bit. I went there to do some drills, do some mitt work, hit the bag a little bit, and just basically get a bit of a fucking sweat on. Every week, are you going to do some sparring? No, I don't want to do sparring. I don't want to get punched in the head. Oh, you could just do body sparring? No, thank you. I'm paying for it. I was like, if I'm joining the club to do boxing, I can understand it. If I had a fight coming up and things like that, then yes, you would spar and things like that. I'm just there to basically do a fitness class. That's what I'm there for. I don't want to do boxercise because that's gay. I want to do proper boxing, and
but just without the sparring.
Yeah, it's not much to ask, is it? They're like, but it's quite funny because they're like, but I can tell that you've done boxing before, and I went, yeah, I know.
That's why I don't want to get punched in the head anymore.
I don't want to be punched in the head. I've been punched in the head a lot as a fucking teen and a fucking early 20s. too much injury to the head. But yeah, the jiu-jitsu thing is definitely on the cards. I need to give him a message really and stop being a lazy bastard.
Everyone needs to be in jiu-jitsu, mate. It's the best. It's the best for up here as well as down there. And
to be fair, he has offered to take my daughters if they want to learn any self-defense stuff as well. So,
mate, 100%. Get them in there.
My eldest has got the nastiest rear naked choke I have ever seen, and she's 11.
What a legend!
She is horrible, and to the point where I have to remind her that if people tap, she's supposed to let go. But dude, seriously, thank you very much for coming on. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time.
Thanks for having me, mate. It was great. It was great chat. Appreciate
it. Lovely. It was lovely. Annoying that little fucking technical difficulty. We were going so well, and then all of a sudden
it was, mate.
It went, but I'm not going to bother now. Cheers.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck
but once you work your magic and splice it together, you won't be able to tell, so it'll be all good.
Exactly. Even if I do that, I tend not to edit mine. But yeah, I'll probably cut that bit out because it's both of us going, are you there? Are you there?
Hello? Hello?
But all good. But cheers again for your time, and I will put
Thanks for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
I can, with all the links to your alley fucking company, and we'll get some people to fucking get some products. I know
that sounds amazing.
I know I'll be getting some soon, just saying, but that's a secret between me and you. My wife doesn't need to know. Right. I'll catch you again soon, dude.
Yeah, we'll speak soon. Thanks very much for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Catch you in a bit.
Stay wavy.